What's up, everyone? It's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome back to the car channel. First off, right off the bat, I want to thank everyone for all the support on the 1,000 horsepower Trackhawk reveal. We are going to be doing more funny ass content with this, as well as getting rolling shots, POV of it blitzing down the road, and I just want some hooning videos with it for sure, but that's coming up in the pipeline. Today I wanted to tackle a topic video revolving around, just jumping right into it. Your first motorcycle. What should your first motorcycle be? And going into my first motorcycle, which is a 2012 S1000rr that I purchased at 19 years old. So I jumped directly into the deep end. And this is a touchy subject, right? Because there's a lot of differing opinions. There's a lot of advanced riders that will fucking flick me off and scorn me for jumping on an S1000rr right off the bat. But I present both sides of the coin, and you can take it for what it is, and feel free to obviously weigh your opinion in the comments section. If you follow my bodybuilding channel, I love seeing the fucking wasteland of the comment section bloom. So going into it, how did this S1000rr become my first motorcycle? So, when I was little, my dream was never, cars are cool, but bikes were always my thing. And my dream bike as a child, teen, adolescent was always an S1000rr, preferably a black one like the one you see here. And it was in the Fast and Furious movies. It won Super Bike of the Year a bazillion times. And I love this style of the S1000rr with the monocle headlights, the uneven headlights. I love that. They're asymmetrical. I love the design cues on this bike, and I just think it's stunning. Even in 2021, this is still a stunning motorcycle, and this is from 2012, and I think this design is timeless. But yeah, basically, if you guys followed my other bodybuilding channels, I had a couple bodybuilding channels at this point. If you know who I am from that sort of world, you'll know that I was sponsored by Enhanced Athlete. This blessed me with the opportunity to be able to afford any motorcycle I want, at such a young age. I was very blessed in that aspect. So when it came to me, thinking about, okay, what should my first motorcycle be to start off on, I started going down the list of maybe I should get a Ninja 250, learn on a Ninja 250 for one riding season, and then attempt to sell it in the winter, or attempt to trade it in on a 600, and then get an R6. I'd probably get an R6 if I was going to pick one of the 600s out, or maybe a 675 LT. But yeah, I would I would do the jump from a 250 to a 600, and then I would get my S1000rr. The more I thought about it, I was more on the fence. I think when it comes to picking your first motorcycle, the thing that I didn't do that I should have did, and I recommend anyone looking at getting into a motorcycle, is to go to one of those big power sports stores and just sit on the bikes. Sit on a bunch of different types of bikes. Sit on a cruiser, sit on a super sports bike like this, sit on a regular sports bike, sit on a super naked bike, and see what riding position you feel the most comfortable with. Because if you're not comfortable with the riding position, it's going to be a lot more difficult to learn the basic fundamentals of motorcycling when you first start out. So this S1000rr is a race style riding position, but it's a forgiving riding style position for what it is. I also have a 2018 Ducati V4S that is in the shop currently, and that riding position is full race. That riding position is absolutely so fucking uncomfortable, and it makes it much more difficult to operate the controls because you are literally chucked on the bike in a full jockey stance. There's no rest. This one, you can sit back a little bit more, but like I said, it's still a race position. Normally, if you're just focusing on operating the controls, you would want to be more upright. You would want to have your back more neutral. So yeah, that's what I would recommend right off the bat, is just go to a big power sports store and just sit on a bunch of them, see which one you feel the most comfortable with, and then go from there. But for me, I didn't do that. And I was back and forth between getting a Ninja 250 when I started and a 600, and then lightning struck. Lightning struck on Craigslist. I found this. Completely modded how you see it today. My dream bike was right there for sale. 2012 S1000rr, 10,000 miles, carbon fiber, not too much carbon fiber, but a nice taste of carbon fiber. Austin Racing full Inconel titanium GPR2 exhaust, so the best sounding exhaust. Attack Racing rear sets. Like, the build was done. I haven't modded this bike. I've had this bike for years and haven't modded it at all because it's done. I could throw a Bren tune on it, but personally I like that it's not Bren tune because it shoots even more fireballs not being tuned. Like, it runs a little bit rich. So I personally like having the 10-foot fireball shoot out the back while I'm going down the highway. But yeah, like, it just popped up. Like, my dream bike popped up, and that made me at 19, young and dumb, had the invincibility complex at 19. So yeah, my dream bike popped up on Craigslist. This thing was fully done, and it was in my price range, obviously, because I was very blessed at that age to be a sponsored athlete. And, I was 19, invincibility complex. That's when I come to present this topic, I just remember how I was at 19. I remember that I had the superiority, I'm invincible complex, which, that normally lasts till around 23, 24 years old. Then you start to slow down a little bit. When I present this, it's coming from like the big brother perspective of doing it wrong. I really convinced myself that, I don't want a Ninja 250 because I'm going to get bored of that after one riding season. And, 600s are cool, but really, this is the bike I fucking want. So I'm going to fucking buy this bike and figure it out. And yeah, that's what I did. So at 19, I've only had experience with riding dirt bikes 2 or 3 times. So I did have some sort of clutch control knowledge. I rode mountain bikes all my life, so I have a lot of counter steering knowledge as far as that is concerned, although that's not really applicable to something with a 194 horsepower motor and actually counter steering at extreme speeds. But, I had the idea of it. And then, I went to go pick up the bike. Okay, here goes into like learning on an S1000rr. So first off, right off the bat, I'm going to make this argumentative point that, I was 19. If you're young and you won 1,000, I assume you're a fucking nut job like me and you have the superiority complex and shit, right? This bike can absolutely fucking kill you. This bike is way better than you will ever be as far as like riding it to its potential. So right off the bat, if you think you're fucking Valentino Rossi going down the fucking highway, your luck's going to come to a damn end, and it's not going to be pretty. So right off the bat, even though I got this bike at 19, I knew I wasn't no fucking pro rider. I had 0 track riding experience, and that I would have to respect this bike and really know that one fuck up, all the variables are amplified towards me crashing, right? One blitz of the throttle, and you have way more horsepower being released than a Ninja 250. Releasing the clutch, you're popping the whole bike up. But essentially how I learned to ride this bike when I was 19 was I put this bike in rain mode. So there's multiple power modes on this bike, which is really cool. So I dumbed it down to rain mode, which only limits it to only 160 horsepower, which is still bonkers. Still insanely fast, and it dumbs down the throttle. It makes the throttle less touchy. And I kept it in rain mode. And as far as the other safety features I used, I did put on anti-wheelie control, I did put on anti-slip control, and I have ABS. ABS, if you guys are looking for your first motorcycle, absolutely fucking get ABS on your damn first motorcycle. I don't know how much I can harp. Your first bike should at least have ABS. So if you don't know what ABS is, anti-lock braking system. So the most common way to wreck a bike, you're going down the road, someone's making a left turn on you, doesn't see you, doesn't give a fuck about you. You panic. You grab the front brake as hard as you can. Boom. Now you did a stoppie. Now you're flipping over your bike, and now you're going to be flung into the car. You're going to be flung off the road. An anti-lock braking system, ABS, even if I grab this brake as hard as I could, it's not going to let me flip the bike over. It's going to apply just the right amount of brake to stop the bike from flipping over and stop you the fastest. So ABS can absolutely save your life. If your bike doesn't have ABS, you're a fucking noob and should at least get a bike with ABS, and that might save you. My Ducati has multiple ABS settings. My Ducati, you can turn the back or the front ABS completely off, and you can modulate which ones you want. This one is just like a generalized ABS system, but right off the bat, you know, the ABS saved me a couple times on this bike. Now, as far as learning how to ride it, it was very difficult to learn how to ride at the initial start, right? Because when you let the clutch out on this type of bike, it wants to immediately go 12 miles an hour no matter what, right? This bike is not a bike that you can putt-putt around in a parking lot. Once the clutch is out, it wants to fucking go. It doesn't like going slow, and shit ton of power. You know, I just putted it around in my apartment complex for about 3-4 weeks, and then I got ballsy enough to take it out on the road. Now, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so there's a shit ton of hills. So when it comes to starting on a hill, right, I had to have really good clutch control, and that took a lot of getting used to. And there's some times where I'd give too much throttle, let the clutch out too rough, and, you know, I'd fucking shoot the bike up and shit. But, you know, overall, once I got it down in rain mode and got my counter steering down, I will say that I did have another new beginner mistake of doing target fixation. So target fixation is another way a lot of motorcyclists wreck. So for example, like one of these, you know, one of my close calls at 19 was I was starting to get used to the power. Obviously, 19, I bought this damn bike for the power. I'm not dumb. I bought this for the speed, and I was getting rowdy with it in a straight line, and I was approaching a long sweeping corner. And for those who don't know, you want to look at the end of the corner. So even if you're going straight, you're looking at the end of the corner. Your head goes, like, wherever your head is looking at is where the bike is going to go. So instead, I was looking at the guardrail, you know, the guardrail. So I was barreling towards the guardrail, and, you know, I corrected my target fixation at the last second. And yeah, I learned that one the hard way. Now on a Ninja 250, you'd be going a lot less faster. You'd be able to react a lot quicker, right? With this bike, it's very difficult because first gear goes to 94 miles an hour, and normally you're going to want to shift through at least 2 gears to have some fun. So right off the bat, you're going 100 plus, and like, you can't panic at that speed. You can't panic. It's very much a different riding experience than a cruiser. It's very much a different riding experience than a 250. And to me personally, there's just a difference between these super bikes, right? When you get to the super bike level, it's a whole different animal. It's a whole different animal you have to respect, and all the errors can come so quickly because of the speed you're doing. You know, I used to remember I would look down at my speedometer about to enter a corner, and I'd be going like 120, 115, and I'd be like, oh shit, I need to slow down to make it through this corner. Like, if you're not paying attention, if you're not really good with your twitch reactions, I wouldn't start on this bike, you know. I'm heavily imploring people to probably start with a 600 or something like a Ninja 650 or something like that, because of all the close calls I had when I first started riding this bike. Now, obviously, once I had 2 riding seasons under my belt, I was redlining this bike. I could put the bike in slick mode and pop wheelies and shit. Like, after 2 seasons, which those 2 seasons were very scary with a couple close calls, but after 2 seasons, you know, I didn't regret getting this as my first bike, because I learned how to ride a 1000 the way the 1000 was meant to be ridden. And I made it through that period where, you know, the danger was happening because I was a noob on a 1000. But that's just my experience learning with it, right? The anti-slip control has saved me a couple times, especially in the rain. And I rode this in the winter one time, and I blew my fucking tire off, and the traction control got me and saved me. So the electronic nannies really do help, and really makes the argument and factor that you could dumb down a super bike learn on it, dumb down, and then obviously release it to its full potential as you feel more comfortable. But at the end of the day, this is a shit ton of bike for your first bike. Would I recommend it? No. The reason why I won't recommend it is because if you're going to get 1,000 as your first bike, you're like me. You don't listen to fucking anyone. You just do what the fuck you want, and that's what I did, right? I bought the bike I wanted. I didn't listen to all the fucking people. So I'm never going to recommend someone jump on 1,000 as their first bike. Is it doable? Is it possible if you're logical and you leave your ego at the door every time you ride, and you know you're not a good rider, and you know that it's going to take multiple riding seasons before you can even get close to like really blitzing this thing? Yeah. You know, some people are mature like that. Other people, you know, they want to fucking like redline the damn thing the minute they get it off the lot, and that's not going to end well. You have to ride within your limits, and your limits expand as you get more experience. And for me personally, like, I'm a good rider for the street, for the track. I've never ridden on track, and for me to continue getting my skills better, I need to buy a track bike and ride track. Like, I only ride, you know, twisties on the street to about 60 to 80% of my ability. 80% of my ability meaning I ran down the same twisties multiple times and know that there's no gravel that's going to fuck me up or anything. But yeah, when it gets into a bike I would recommend as far as a first bike, obviously I'm not going to recommend a super sports bike 1,000 cc's or above, because I'm going to get bitched at by the whole YouTube motorcycling community. But I will say that a Yamaha MT-09, my friend at college had a Yamaha MT-09. He let me take it for a spin, and I loved it. I loved the upright riding position. It was super comfortable, super fast. You know, I hit over 120 on it, and it wasn't unbearable. You know, this thing is fucking insane. Like, when you have this wide open throttle and you're just kicking up the gears, like, it's like that Star Wars, like, where the fucking light speed hits. Like, that shit's no joke, and it's hard for your brain to process how fast you're going. So, you know, that's my 2 cents. I think a Yamaha MT-09, I think a Ninja 650. Fuck the Ninja 250. Those things are like mopeds. I'd rather get a Grom than a Ninja 250. That's just my 2 cents. But a 675, a Daytona 675, I think that's an awesome starter bike that has a unique sounding engine note. Yamaha R6 if you want a more aggressive riding style and you want to respect that bike. But am I going to recommend a 193, 94 horsepower super bike as your first bike? No. Like I said, and I'm going to say it one more time, if you're going to do that, you're not going to listen to anyone, and you're just going to fucking do it, because that's what I did. You know, I talked to the original owner who built this bike and did the build on this, and I'm like, listen, man, I'm honestly kind of nervous because this is going to be my first motorcycle. I have experience with dirt bikes, and the advice that he gave me, and obviously he wasn't going to deny me because this is an expensive bike at the time I bought it. He didn't have that many buyers who want it, so he's going to want me to buy it no matter if it's a good choice for me or not. But the advice he gave me was, you know, ride within your limits. You seem like a smart kid with a good head on your shoulders. You know that this bike and what it's capable of. Don't try and do something that you're not comfortable with, and know that it's going to take multiple fucking riding seasons before you even get close to what this bike's truly capable of with an actual good jockey on it. And you know, with my Ducati V4S, I bought my Ducati V4S off an ex-pro racer, and he gave me pretty much the same advice. And that's a dude who's like fucking dragging elbow on the track, can fucking touch his head on the fucking thing in a corner. Like, just ride within your limits. Your skills evolve as you ride, as you get more experience. And the last thing I'll say and harp on is that everyone makes those beginner rider mistakes. When you add shit tons of horsepower on top of those beginner rider mistakes, those beginner rider mistakes become more amplified and more deadly. So one fuck up on this could, you know, that could be the end, right? One fuck up on a Ninja 250 because the power's not there, you could probably save it. So it comes down to that. But as far as what I would recommend, Yamaha MT-09, Ninja 650, R6, or a 600 if you're looking for something more sporty and has more power. I'm not going to recommend maybe a GSXR 750. You know, that's a good middle ground. That's got a torquier curve band and motor than a 600, but it doesn't got that 1,000 like peak holy shit fucking top end power. But I'm not going to recommend anyone ever jump on a 1,000 as their first bike. I think if you do buy a 1,000 as your first bike, you were a crazy nut job like me, and at 19 I didn't listen to no one. I obviously knew it was a crazy fucking idea, and I did it anyways because at the end of the day I wanted that bike. I didn't want to fucking buy 2 bikes to learn on and then fucking go through the pain of trading them in or selling them just to get the bike I want. I'm like, I'm gonna get the bike I want, I'm gonna learn how to ride the bike I want. And then I guess the last argument I'll make is that no bike is gonna prepare you for 1,000. Like a 600, I have a 600 behind this camera. You know, my girlfriend's GSXR 600. That's nothing. That's nothing compared to this. This thing is way fucking crazier. And that even when you like build yourself up to 1,000, sure, you will appreciate the power more than if you started on 1,000, right? You'll appreciate the power more because you've had less powerful bikes. You know, when I go on a 600, I'm like, this is fun, but like not like my 1,000 or my 1,100 Ducati. You know, you will appreciate the power more, but you're not going to, like, nothing prepares you for these types of bikes. Once you get on this type of bike, you're relearning how to deal with the extreme amount of power. So that's my 2 cents, and I hope you learned something with that, but I'm still here at 24, and I'm going to be letting go of this baby soon, so I'm glad that I got to have her in a video, but she's going to be sold to my friend pretty soon. I really can't, you know, I get too emotional when I get on this bike, honestly, and it's time to move on with a Ducati. But this was my first motorcycle, and I have 0 regrets. Was it absolutely batshit terrifying to learn on this bike for 2 riding seasons? Yeah, but after 2 riding seasons, you know, I could blitz it, I could put it in slick mode, I can do burnouts and shit and wheelies and fucking drive it like a hoon. But, you know, those first 2 years, I was a big pussy on it. Knew I wasn't Valentino Rossi. I rode within my limits. People want to race me on the highway. You know, I wouldn't fuck with them. Even if they had a 600, they were better in corners than me. You know, I left my ego at the door. This rider's better in corners than me. I'm not going to try and keep up. I'm going to ride within my limits. Boom, that's why I'm here today, because I left my ego at the door with this thing. But overall, I have no regrets, and this bike is still stunning to look at years later, and I still haven't had one, you know, reason to mod it. And it's that sound never gets old. So I hope you guys enjoyed this topic video. I will see you guys in my next video.